right, come on, let's go.
Okay, I got a question for you. What's holding you back? What's holding you back from doing the thing that you want to do? The thing that you feel like you're called to do? Is it fear? Mm-hmm. Is it lack of knowledge? Is it lack of equipment? Is it somebody said something to you that you allowed to be planted into your life and now you can't move forward? Well, anyway, I got a special guest I want to introduce you to. This lady, can I call you lady? Can I call young lady?
What? You call me young lady.
This young lady. This young lady is a photographer, a videographer, a podcast producer, a cosmetologist, a licensed cosmetologist. Did I leave anything off?
I'm a lead over my media team.
Oh, that's right.
Also, I'm a minister of the gospel. I like to talk about Jesus.
Okay. So, and her name is
Desiree Danielle.
Spell it for the people in the back, because I saw a post where you said, and it is, and you spelled out the pronunciation of it, because people like to call you
all the things. It's not Desiree Danielle.
Okay.
So, but the funny thing though is I get a lot of people that just naturally say Danielle. Which is I don't take any offense to it or anything, because actually my dad's side of the family, they always call me Danielle. I've had one lady call me Daniel because she just didn't know how to Danielle, but it is Desiree, Danielle.
Well, if you don't know her, you need to, first of all. And I say that because it's funny when you have your own theme song.
I'm tickled.
What is it?
It's Desiree.
Desiree.
I'm so tickled. That makes me, I get nervous. I get nervous every time. That is hilarious to me. That's hilarious to me. Yeah, it's one of our theme songs on our podcast.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start with you,
I don't know.
seriously, because you went to school for photography.
I'll say art studio was my minor.
Okay.
In college, and that was the first time. So this is like 2008, 2009. I took my first photography class. So photography wasn't even really on my radar. Like, I've been creative like my whole life, always doing things with my hands, drawing, painting. I remember probably being like 7, 8 years old. My mom sews. That was her side thing.
Okay.
I remember going into her sewing room and getting like scraps of cloth, and I would like literally like cut out and sew Barbie doll clothes with needle and thread. And then I started doing hair at 12. So like creativity has always been in the background. It wasn't until I got to UAB, they allowed us to take pretty much whatever creative classes we wanted to. Most of mine were painting, but we did have to take like a computer graphics class and art history. And I was just like, oh, let's just take this photography class. Okay. And it was 35 millimeter.
Really?
Darkroom film. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had the chemicals that you had to...
Mm-hmm. Had to shake the little canister up with the, shake it up.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you remember your first camera?
Yeah, it was a Canon.
Canon what?
I don't know, the film camera.
Oh, okay.
It was a film. My first camera, outside the little disposable ones, you get from Walmart, you go chicken and you send it off to the people. Besides that one, it was, I don't know, I don't even remember the model, but it was like a Canon 35 millimeter camera. Okay. And I actually had it up until I think I pawned it or something. I gave it to somebody.
Hey, life be life and don't.
A couple of years ago. Because I was like, I ain't finna use this thing. Let me let somebody else, But yeah, I remember that. And the cool thing about it, I was actually working at Walmart. I started working at Walmart in 2005 before I moved up here. Okay. And I was working in the photo lab. So this is when they actually did film. They developed film in the actual store. So they had these big machines and they had all the chemicals and stuff. And they don't really tell you, unless you're a nerd, like a geek out like that, they don't really tell you like the workings of it. It's just, I know I put the film in and it come out on the other end. But it really wasn't until I took that class that I began to understand like what the different chemicals did and the processes and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty cool.
So when you did that, did you understand the ISO of the speed, of the film?
Let me think. No. Okay. I don't think so. I think maybe just a little bit, enough to, I still actually had some of those images up in, so I sold my townhome a couple of years ago, and I had a couple of those images that I had printed and framed, but I think I threw them away. But they were, what they actually, you look at them, they were very well developed. Like, you know, like the lighting and things was, so I mean, I must have knew something, but I don't remember. You know, sometimes you just, you just figure it out and go.
I know that there's a Walmart here that used to have a, I'm sorry, that used to be here.
Yes. It ain't
That
no more.
had, right,
Okay.
that had one. And the guy, he saved me a lot because at that age, I just knew I loved taking pictures.
Yeah.
And I would get different speed films because I thought the higher the number, the better. Didn't really realize what it was.
The numbers for.
Right. And he would adjust the the lightness and darkness there.
Bless him.
So,
Aw.
but he helped me to stay into
That's
photography
good.
though. So,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I really understood. I can't even, like, I'm thinking I don't, and they probably did teach us like the speeds and stuff like that. I just don't remember because I think at that point I was just trying to make it through the class.
Really?
Yeah, that was my first time. You know, with new things, sometimes people just jump in. I'm depending on how new it is, I'm kind of like, let me just kind of get my foot wet. But what I did love is the idea of capturing a moment.
Okay.
Right. So even after that class, I got inspired in photography.
Okay.
And I think the next camera that I bought was a Sony, like a little kit Sony kind of camera.
Really?
Yeah. And I shot with that for a little while, and then I ended back up into the Canon lane somewhere at some point in time.
So you are back in Canon?
For the most part.
Okay.
So I got Canon and Sony.
Yeah, I saw some of your pictures on your website, and I assumed you were Canon first, and the further I dug in, doing research on you now, not stalking.
Research.
I saw you had a Sony.
Yeah, so I bought the Sony when I started getting a little bit more into video.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I still love this. I got a Canon Mark IV, so it's still kind of big
Heavy,
and
and it gives
heavy.
you-
That lens is heavy. It's just like I just love the way it feels in my hands. So I'm probably gonna keep that and keep shooting with. I know we kind of shifted into like this mirrorless kind of space now, but I really love shooting with that Canon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first paid gig?
First paid gig. So let's see. No. Well, I'll say I would say that when I would say like, hey, I'm decided to do this as a business was probably like 2020. COVID, right? Then I was like, oh, maybe I didn't think this through. Well, I didn't know COVID was coming, but anyway, so we started out and I started shooting, and it was probably one of my clients. She has at the time she was doing like custom card making and stamps and things like that, and she came into the studio and we did our brand shoot, and she paid me for it.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
it probably wasn't what I charge now, but still.
Of course,
you
of
know,
course.
But she paid me for it.
Okay. So who influenced you the most
Who
within
influenced me?
within your creativity? Okay, so before you answer that one, if I remember correctly, in my research,
In your research.
you're an artist too.
Yeah.
Drawing, painting, which one?
I love to paint more so than draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I did love to paint. I don't really, at this moment, I'm not painting, but I loved painting.
Okay. Who influenced you?
I would say my mom. Well, my mom and my dad both are very creative.
Okay.
My dad's a musician, so he plays the bass guitar. And my mom has just always been very crafty with her hands. So she actually she started out in college as a interior fashion design.
Okay.
She didn't finish, but she sews. So I'm talking about this lady can create anything. Like I remember seeing her, like people would bring a picture to her. She'd be like, "Oh, okay," and she would go find like different patterns, like 3 or 4 different patterns, cut the patterns out, and actually create that same piece of dress or whatever it was. She made my prom dress when I was little. I remember like the socks and the bows and the shirts and all the things that matched. But she draws, she sketches, anything. She loved to get into like what is that, flower arrangements and things like
floral,
that.
okay.
Yeah. But I just remember her saying like, "You just think I can do anything, don't you?" And I said,
Yes, ma'am.
"Yes, ma'am, I can. And until you prove me wrong, I'm going to continue to think that, you know." But my family has, I have a very entrepreneurial spirited family, and everybody's good with their hands.
Okay.
So pretty much that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from, is just watching my mom get in there and create in different ways. And I don't think until I got older, maybe within the last 3 or 4 years, that I've really allowed myself to step into the space of just fully creating without putting myself in this particular type of box as a hairstylist, because I was just doing hair.
So, if I heard you correctly, your mom is like one-to-one to you.
Yes.
She, some type of way, instilled your confidence in you?
I would say that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say I'll say yes, in a way, like she just trusted me. Like she just, like the decisions that I made in life, like I would go to her for guidance, but she wasn't the type to be like a micromanaging type parent. Like she's like, okay, what you doing today? I'm like, I'm doing such and such. She's like, okay, that's cool. She's just always encouraged pretty much whatever decisions and things that I've decided to do in life, and specifically like creatively. So like when I was like, hey mom, yeah, I think I'm gonna go to cosmetology school, she's like, okay, cool, what does this look like? And I was like, boom. She's like, okay, great. Did that. And I was like, I think I'm gonna jump out and get a salon suite. She's like, okay, cool. And I remember when COVID happened. So I was doing hair in the salon, and of course, like beauty professionals considered non-essential.
Okay. So
So that means we couldn't work. That means like you could not physically go into your building and work during COVID, because you're that considered non-essential.
really?
Yes. So we were actually closed for like
A long
maybe about
time.
almost 2 months, like literally like 2 months, until they gave us the clearance that we could actually go back to work. But it was like with stipulations, like you could only work with like one client at a time, that kind of thing, which didn't bother me because that's how I was working anyway. Like I was in salon suite kind of thing.
Yes.
But I remember when they was like, yeah, everything got shut down, I was going home, and I was telling my mom about it, and she was like, why you sound worried? And I was like, I mean, you know, da da da. She's like, oh, I know you ain't worried, old woman of faith, and da da da. And I looked at the phone like, I know, because my mom, she believes, but you know, we all have our own little journey. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that inspired me so much. I was like, dang. So she be watching me, and like she's just trusted the journey that I've been on, and so just that little piece has really helped with the confidence, even though that's still a space that I'm kind of in certain aspects, like being over here on this side of the camera, still it's a little different.
Quick interruption. If you're liking this video so far, how about liking and subscribing to help me grow this channel? I appreciate it. Now back to this video, okay? Let's go. What's been your biggest challenge doing that?
Being on this side?
No, what's been your biggest challenge dealing with, let's say, insecurities?
So when you know that there's more,
Okay.
like when you know that God has, I love Jesus, when you know that God has purposed you for a thing, right? There's so that's something when it's like a knowing on the inside that just won't let you like quit.
Okay.
Right. So even as I've stepped into these new spaces that have been very uncomfortable, it's always bigger than just me.
Okay.
So I'm like, even today, it's like, hey, I know that somebody's going to be watching this, that something that we're going to say that's going to inspire them to step into the next space that they're supposed to be in. They're stuck for some reason, right?
Right.
And so me stepping outside of myself and having this conversation, allowing whatever needs to be said is a bigger part of purpose. So that's really what just kind of keeps me going.
Well, for you that don't know, I've seen some of her work, and I've got a chance to witness her on a podcast, and how open that you are with your guests,
Yeah.
and how transparent you were. I knew that you had a lot to share.
Yeah.
And by the fact that, again, photographer, videographer,
Yeah.
podcast.
That wasn't even me. That was me.
Yeah, okay. I've heard the story.
Yeah. It's just
But
great. Like,
if
it's
you don't mind sharing
wild.
it,
Yeah. So like, you really think
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
you think you know your goals, your dreams, all these things, right? I started my college career off as a pre-nursing student. I say pre-nursing because that's the
Right,
classes that you
right.
take before you actually get to
Into-
the nursing program.
Right.
So that's actually how I ended up in Birmingham. I did 2 years at a community college in Enterprise on a
You're from
basketball
Enterprise?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
From Enterprise, Alabama, born and raised, home of the Boll Weevils. Home of the Boll Weevils, baby. But yeah, I did 2 years at a community college there on a basketball scholarship. Because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a nurse. So, you know, when people start to ask you, like, what you gonna do when you grow up, right?
Did you feel like you had to answer that question when they asked you?
Yeah. I did. So at first I was like, I'm gonna be a pediatrician. Like I used to watch back in the day when TLC was TLC. Like I used to watch A Baby Story and
Okay.
like and Labor and Delivery and all these. I was like, oh, I love that. Like I love how all the things. And so I was like, I think I want to be a pediatrician. And then I started doing some research and I said, no, I don't want to be a pediatrician. I don't want to be in school that long. Okay. So then I was like, okay, well maybe. Not maybe. I was like, oh, I would love to be a nurse because one, I felt like the nurses were, they built a little bit of a closer relationship with the patients.
Okay.
And so that's how I started. But what I soon realized, well, now that I realize, I said nursing because I've always had a heart to help people and kind of nurture. And I think that's really the only language I had at the time to put to it. Right. So I started out as a pre-nursing major, got the UAB, and soon learned that C's get degrees, but they're not going to get you in UAB's nursing program. Okay.
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 I like how
All
you
right.
said that.
Okay. It's not gonna get you in there. And so I ended up switching my major. So I ended up switching my major to communication management. And I had a minor in art studio. Graduated. So at this point, it's like 2010. So I'm like, okay, let me just change this major so I can just get done.
It was that easy.
It was literally any, mini, miny, mo. Which one of these gonna get me out the door? Okay.
Okay.
And I felt like, and it's so crazy because even though I chose communication management, it wasn't like a concentration in like broadcasting or anything like that. It was literally learning like communication, which I do on a regular basis now. So we did like nonverbal we had classes on like nonverbal communication between like generations, all these things. Right. I was like, I didn't know. I mean, apparently somebody knew, right?
Okay. So, give me a tip. I'm sitting here. This is my first interview. And I know you've been around this, not around the block, but around the moon with this.
What? With video?
Podcasting, interviews.
Okay.
Yes. Grade my posture, my body language. What am I saying? How am I presenting myself?
Like you're comfortable.
Really?
I know.
Okay. Okay.
Like you're comfortable. Like you're open. You know what I'm saying? I think if you were kind of uncomfortable, it would kind of been a little bit more, a little in.
Okay.
Like right now, you're sitting with confidence. Like you've been around what you just said?
Been around the moon.
The moon a couple times. No. Like you've been doing this for a couple times. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Now we spoke about this for a second off camera, but I want to stop there. Can you give me or us a tip on how to acquire clients?
I think the first thing what I'm learning is one, just being authentic.
Okay.
I think sometimes when we're trying to get clients, if you're not careful, you can try to be something or somebody that you're not to acquire a certain type of client.
Elaborate.
So I'm pretty chill, kind of eclectic, So if I were to come in here in a 3-piece suit, I probably would not have been my authentic self.
Okay.
Right. And so in that, I would have been putting on a persona of somebody that I am not. So if I want the ideal client for myself, I want to be able to show my client exactly who I am. Whether they wear a 3-piece suit or not, they can, but they're going to be attracted to the authentic person that's in me. That's who I am.
So let's take this a step further. I think a lot of people have heard that said that way before. What if the surrounding area that you're in, let's say from past, has dictated otherwise?
What you mean?
Fair enough. Fair enough. We're in Alabama.
Yes, we are.
Okay. And sometime in some things, Alabama could be, I don't want to use the S word, but we may be on the tail end of realizing some things have changed.
Okay.
That you don't have to wear a suit and tie to do business.
Yeah.
But you still have a lot of people that have this traditional way ingrained in them to do business.
Yeah.
And that's not only the person that's hiring, but the person that's also inquiring.
Yeah.
So how do you change? Yeah, you saw that. How do you change that mind state? How do you adapt that authentically?
So, of course, I think it really depends on the space that you're in,
Okay.
right? So, majority of the clients that I work with, they're probably branding clients. You know what I'm saying? So, I think it's important for me to show up as my authentic self if I'm going to encourage them to do the same. So, like, if somebody comes to me for a branding shoot, 9 times out of 10, they're going to ask me what to wear. And I'm going to say, well, what's your brand? I'm going to start asking them questions about their brand, their story, who they are. And then I'm going to say, okay, well, great. I want you to show up. And I may give them, it may be something casual and something dressy professional, right? But that dressy professional still needs to be in the context of who you are.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So like I can go, like I've shot events that were, you know, black tie and things like that. So I will put on you know, something a little bit more fancy, but it's still going to be me.
Okay.
Like it may be a pop of color in there. It may be a pattern. Sometimes I've even worn some pink Chucks because I love Chuck Taylors.
Okay.
You know, that's just me. But I think you're just gonna have. Sometimes we just have to step outside of our comfort zones, and I think that's really what it is. A lot of times we're even though it may be good or bad, we've gotten so comfortable with being in a certain space that it's safe.
Okay.
Right? And anytime we step outside of that, it's very uncomfortable, but that's the only time you're going to grow is when you step outside of the comfort box.
Okay.
So I kind of push people to do that a little bit. Let's do something different.
Okay. Okay. How do you market yourself? Or better yet,
We talked about this off camera too.
Okay, so how would you recommend someone marketing their self? Let me give you the parameters of the question, as opposed to just giving it, allowing you to open it freely,
Okay.
which you can still. So I have several social media pages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a account on most platforms, and what I see other people doing is they're marketing photography for what appears to be other photographers.
Okay.
So
What does that look like?
To me, it looked like they're marketing to be sponsored
Oh.
as opposed to marketing for clients.
Okay.
So acknowledging the difference between the two, how do you market for clients?
So question. So what is that? When you say it seems like they're marketing, you said for sponsorship.
Yes.
What does that look like? What type of post does that look like?
Okay. So it looks like a post that you will understand as a photographer, but
Like what tech
your
look like?
sister
Fancy
who's
tech
not-
gear, language, and stuff like
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That type of tips.
Okay.
That type of what you call it. So I'm not saying that they're wrong in what they're doing. I'm saying that if you look at them as a photographer and you just try to reproduce what they're reproducing, and you don't know what they're reproducing it for,
Yeah.
you're kind of in the weeds now. You're not going to hit your target because your target is over there, but you're pointing your weapon over here.
Right.
So how do you market yourself as a photographer to clients?
One, like I said, authenticity. Right.
Okay.
Me. That's just me being me.
Okay.
But two, understanding who you're talking to. So like, I'm just now getting into, I guess they call it like an avatar, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say my avatar is probably she's probably between 35 and 40 years old. African American.
Okay.
African American black woman.
Okay.
She's a professional. She probably has a business, or she's in ministry, or she may work a professional job, but she may have a little side gig or something like that going on, right? So I know that because I'm in branding, right? So I'm looking. So my client is going to be somebody who has a brand, who has a business specifically. I need that avatar because I need to be able to talk to her. Right. So in talking to her, as a woman, she probably struggles with maybe some self-esteem things, insecurities. Most of us do. Right. With her having a business, she probably would enjoy maybe how to market her business as well. Right. So I may post about outfits.
Okay.
Right. I may post about my process of when somebody comes in, what does that look like? Hey, somebody comes in, you're nervous, don't worry about it. I'm going to guide you through posing. We'll have a consultation, talk about like what to wear. I may post business tips. Or I also may post how to use the images that you've gotten from me, because some people will take pictures, you know, they're like, I need these pictures, but they don't necessarily know how to use the pictures, you know, so I may post about like, hey, how do you use your branding images? You know, I may create some mock-up like Canva post templates or something like that, just to kind of show them how they can actually use the images in there. But for me, it's more so also and me talking about myself.
Okay.
Showing up, storytelling. Just being open with people, because most of the times people connect with a person, you know, and not necessarily all the jargon. So I know what you're talking about, because I've seen, and I think I've gotten caught up with it too, especially like in the hair space. Like sometimes we like to use like these technical terms and things. Posting about the lighting and stuff like that, that's cool, but the client that you're gonna book is not really probably gonna know about all these things. They don't care less, right? You can use natural light in the images as long as the image is beautiful. That's all. So it's really just learning how to speak to the person that you're trying to get to book with you.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Okay.
It does. One thing I would like for you to break down, if you can, you used the word professional, and that in the open world seems to be getting a little diluted or lost in translation. What do you mean professional?
Well, I say professional more in like when I'm speaking in that term, more in like the corporate setting.
So this is a corporate. Okay, so you're saying your avatar is more corporate America.
She could be. So she could be in corporate. Like I have some clients that are in corporate spaces, but they have their own businesses.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not necessarily, now she may need a headshot for her corporate profile, but also I'm helping her in her personal business brand space.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I want to share something with you.
Yeah.
You may know already.
Do I?
You might. Okay. Oh man. So somebody said about you, Desiree is on the top of my list for best thing that has ever happened to me. She's taught me how to love myself, be loved, and how to embrace that greatness God allowed us to experience.
Who said that? Somebody said that?
Yes.
Where they say that at?
Online.
Oh.
This was Jessica.
Oh.
Jessica.
Jessica Reese Johnson?
No.
Aw. My sister. Ah! Ah! I hate when she made me feel all soft and sappy.
Can I ask you about her?
Yeah.
How'd y'all meet?
We met in...
Well, hold on. I'm
Okay.
sorry. First of all, this is the podcast that she's on. I have to interrupt again, and I do apologize. I did not allow Desiree to go back and answer the question about how did she meet Jessica. Now, You may not know, and some of you may, that Jessica has an awesome podcast right here on YouTube. If you don't mind, go over and check out her page and show her a little love when you get a chance to, after you finish watching this video, of course. It's Jessica S. Smith. That's Jessica, middle name or middle initial S, last name Smith, Smith. Send her a little love, make a comment, let her know that you met her through me. Now, if you find her information may not fit you, maybe you have a sister, a mom, or a female cousin that they can find good information from her. But anyway, let's get back to this interview. God bless. Again, my apologies. Something I've noticed about most photographers, or the ones I know, a lot of the ones I know, they are typically what?
Introverted?
Yes.
Yes. Introverted, yes. Which means we love to be on the other side.
Yes. You don't talk about yourself.
No.
You don't. Why is it so hard for us to market ourselves? Why is it so hard for us to work so hard but not talk about the hard work that we're doing?
So I would say, this is funny. I just had to send my pastor a message this morning, literally, and telling her that I literally had to repent for being disobedient, because it's the thing, like, I've been in this space. Actually, me and Jess have been in this space about how we're stewarding things, right?
Okay.
And I don't think is that I'm stewarding things wrong. I'm just not walking fully in it, right? So, I kind of put it.
I'm new to this, so if I'm asking too many questions
go
or
ahead.
too detailed, please,
Ask your question again.
No, you start talking about the things you're stewarding. Are you talking about talents and gifts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So why are you? No, I'm sorry. Why do you think we?
Yep.
And you can use yourself as an
Okay.
example. Why do we have such a hard time of, having a talent, having a gift, knowing in our heart that we're good, but don't want to be braggadocious?
Yeah.
But we have a hard time marketing ourselves.
The
best kept secret.
Yeah, I'll say. I think some of it could be fear. I'm gonna talk about me. I can only talk about myself.
You can put me into it too.
Okay. Some of it could be fear of man.
Okay.
Like what people gonna think, what they gonna say. If I put this out here, like who gonna support it? For myself, I've always struggled with my voice. Like from a very young age, my voice was just muted.
What do you think you sound like?
What do you mean?
You said you had a problem with your voice. Do you mean
Like
how it sounds?
No, like
Your thoughts.
my mom was she's a rough lady. She was very hard and she was very tough, right? So
Well, this is good.
yeah, she was very hard. I love her. Like,
Yeah,
I
obviously.
knew that she loved me, and she loved me the best way she could, which
Okay.
was to make sure that our lights stayed on and we had a roof over the head, right? But as I gotten older and I just began to really understand and look beyond what people put out, like behind that, there's hurt, there's pain, there's trauma, there's drama, there's all these things. So she was just a really hard lady. So very early on, when I say my voice was muted, it was like, back in the, back then, them times, a child.
Wait, hold on. First of all, we ain't that old.
Back, like now this is a different time. Now these kids nowadays is different.
Yeah, this
but
is a different
like
breed.
I was raised a lot by my grandparents. So like a child was to be seen and not heard, right? So right then it's like, hey, your voice don't even pretty much matter for real. So it was kind of like stuff like that, as well as sometimes just being fearful to even speak because you know what you gonna be cool, come out the bag, you know what I'm saying? So I just kind of grew up stifling a lot of my feelings, a lot of my emotions,
Okay.
right? And so now that I'm older, I'm in this space where, hey, you actually got to tell the people about what you do and all these things. I'm like, what if they like, just some of this old stuff that, would come up sometimes. So I just think like, and everybody has their own things, but I think sometimes it could be fear. It could be lack of confidence sometimes. It's like, you're good, but like, are you as good as this person? Right? So we got the art of comparison happening.
The
Sometimes.
thief of joy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, we kind of doing the same thing, but I see what they're doing. I don't know if mine is good enough to be put out there. And then it's like, who gonna buy this stuff? Like, who gonna want what I have? Which is also comes in with that self-sabotage, self-doubt kind of thing. And sometimes it could just be lack of knowledge. Like, you may just not know about marketing and advertising.
Okay. That's interesting. So what's been your biggest creative stifling?
Biggest creative stifling.
Yes.
What has kept my creativity stuck?
That you've come across, anything that you have dealt with that has made creativity rough for you?
Sometimes it could have been the environment that I've been in. A lot of times it's what I've noticed, especially in the hair space. So when you're building up your salon and your clientele, being booked and busy is a thing. But typically what really pays your bills are your returning clients, right? And so a lot of times we are creatures of habit. So a lot of my clients get the same thing. So there's really no space sometimes to deviate. Like when I say the same thing, like I had one client that she always wore a middle part. Now I'm just talking about she natural, she get a silk press, and she get a middle part. Okay. I said, hey, let's put the part on the left today. She like to have a comma part of Jesus. I said, baby, it's a part. You can move the part back to the middle. And it's just things like that, like the repetition of a thing and not necessarily stretching outside of that sometimes. Okay. Like sometimes you have to be intentional about creating in other spaces.
Do you find yourself having time to grab your camera to try something different?
I think I have gotten comfortable.
Okay.
In the camera space, right? So I love capturing the essence of people, in a sense. What would be outside of that is going out and shooting in nature. I very rarely will go outside and shoot trees or shoot birds or anything like that, right?
Okay. You have to say it like that.
I'm just saying, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like as a portrait photographer, like my focus is typically on people. Like getting authentic emotion, authentic expressions out of the people.
Okay.
Sometimes that for me, if I'm looking to be creative, it could be in lighting. So like I try to stretch myself sometimes in backdrops and lighting different ways. Because typically I actually really love natural lighting, and so I've been over the years have tried to mimic the natural light look with strobes and things like that.
Okay.
But here lately, and I know this is the Lord because this is not me. The Lord has been stretching me in the digital space.
Okay.
Like stepping into like the space of like AI and creating and things like that. And one of the newer ventures that I haven't started yet, but that I'm going to be learning is animation.
Wow.
So outside of my comfort zone.
It's okay.
By the way.
You got this.
All right.
You got this.
I'm glad somebody knows.
You got this.
Okay.
I've seen your track record.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what may have fallen off, but I do know that you brought a lot of stuff along with you. For you to be doing all of these different, let's say niches.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so do me a favor.
Yes.
Give the audience a tip for beginner photographers.
The biggest thing, so I have, I'm lead over my media team at my church. And so at the time we didn't have a media team, there was not even a media ministry. So I had to come into this space and like build it up from scratch, right? So I've had some volunteers that know about photography. Like I got one guy, he shoots photo and video, so he's pretty good. Then I have one of my mentees, she has a photography business, but she was kind of just starting, and so there are some things that I've been working with her on, like her composition and stuff like that. But then I had some
Her what?
Composition.
Okay.
Then I had some volunteers that didn't know anything about photography, right? So my main thing was, I can't teach you creativity. That's something that you're gonna have to kind of like practice on and really dive into, like who you are and what you like, right? So, but what I did begin to teach them was the camera setting, so the triangle.
Okay.
You know, lighting, that's photography all day long. Your ISO, your shutter speed, and your f-stop, your aperture, are the 3 biggest things that you have to learn as a photographer, regardless of what genre that you're in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If you can master those, like, you can get creative with lighting. You can, you know, shoot birds, you can shoot people, you can shoot cars. Right? But if you don't, if that triangle is not solid though, then you're gonna be struggling shooting it automatic.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Desiree.
Hey.
Desiree.
Man, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been good. This has been good.
Hey guys, grab your camera. Go be great. God bless.